Dinamikata Ghana Fuenina Mechiachiabo. And when you see what's in the background, you know what I'm going to be talking about. The red, gold, green, and the black star of Ghana, ahead of December the 7th. And I've titled my blunt thoughts today, Setting the Records Straight ahead of election 2024. What you ought to know. Setting the records straight ahead of election 2024. What you ought to know. Now, I'm going to be telling you about things you need to take stock of as you get ready to go and exercise your right as a Ghanaian to vote tomorrow. But what are some of the things to take stock of? This morning, I found it interesting when I read on my platform the story of an accountant turned mechanic who says he won't vote because the system has failed him. Unable to get a job as an accountant since graduating 5 years ago, Nathaniel Kwenu has been forced to swap his calculator for a spanner. The 29-year-old was busy repairing a taxi under the shade of a mango tree when the BBC met him at his home in the small town of Kaswa, about 18 miles from the capital of Accra. He's grown despondent on the back of the myriad economic and other issues he has faced, and he has resolved not to vote in tomorrow's polls. And that's the crux of the matter for me. He says, I don't know how this country is going to be saved from this crisis. He also says his mind is on emigrating to North America or Europe, and he says, I would like to leave the country, go outside, live better, work harder. He is not alone. Many young people, who make up almost 40% of the population according to the 2021 census, also feel they want to leave. They see a few job prospects in the country with an unemployment rate of 14%. He now says, I would like to leave the country, go outside, live better, work harder. And he says, well, that's the option for him. But you see, I have a message for him and others who may be thinking like him. And the message is simple. The 1992 Constitution of Ghana empowers all of us who qualify by age and who have registered to exercise our right to vote. Once we've gone through the requisite registration processes, we have that right. So don't waste that right. In other jurisdictions, just as in Ghana, people had to fight for and even sometimes shed their blood to secure the right to vote or the franchise. So let's not take that for granted in any way. That's what I want to say this morning. To those planning not to vote in the upcoming general elections, you just heard me interacting with Kathleen Addy of the NCCE. Here is some food for thought. A few quotes from different people about the importance of exercising the franchise. This one from Nelson Mandela says, your vote is your power. If you don't use it, others will use it against you. Think about it. Your vote is your power. If you don't use it, others will use it against you. There's also another one. Democracy is not a spectator sport. It's not like football where you go and watch. You either participate or let others decide your future. That's by Eleanor Roosevelt. Oh, there's more. I have a number of them. Winston Churchill says the future belongs to those who vote for it today. The future belongs to those who vote for it today. This unknown one by an anonymous author says, a silent voter empowers the loudest fool. A silent voter empowers the loudest fool. Aristotle, the great thinker, says to ignore politics is to empower the corrupt. Voting is not just a right, it's a responsibility to safeguard our future. Thomas Jefferson said that. We can look back to our recent history and go to Barack Obama, who also says, in a democracy like ours, non-participation is a vote for the status quo. If you go further, I'll tell you about James Baldwin, who says, when we don't vote, we endorse the system we complain about. Whether past or present, whatever you complain about, if you don't vote, then you have no voice. Frederick Douglass, and of course, that goes way back into American civil rights and all of that. He says, an uncast vote is a voice silenced by apathy. And maybe the final one I'll do. This one says, to abstain from voting is to give your voice to the least deserving of it. To abstain from voting is to give your voice to the least deserving of it. Benjamin Jefferson says that one. Now, you see, the other thing I also want to say, there are some things that you should avoid going into tomorrow. One of them is voting and taking a photo of your ballot. You do that at your own risk. You see, it is a breach of the secrecy of the ballot, and it's an offense under PNDC Law 284. I've heard different dynamics, even from lawyers, on this matter. I'm telling you what I know, how it is represented under PNDC Law 284, and what you should know. So you must know that breaching the secrecy of the ballot actually is an offense. It is not right for you to do it. It's an offense under PNDC Law 284. So don't take a photo of your thumb-printed ballot paper and share on social media. Don't do that. If you see political actors do it, leave them to do it. You don't engage in it. You may not be treated the same. Every ballot paper is unique. It has a unique serial number. If you take photos of your ballots and share, you run the risk of being easily identified. In case you didn't know, they can trace down to the ballot box and down to your thumbprint. Remember that. The serial number can help investigators to trace the said ballot paper to the specific polling station. And you know that these polling stations, you don't have votes exceeding or ballots exceeding 750 voters. So it will be easy to find you out. Don't do it. If political actors tell you, if you are caught, wala, it will be you and the system. And that person may not now come to that, police station. And when you end up behind bars, maybe you'll get an epiphany when you be. But realize that it is a crime. Your biometric data is with the EC. The investigators can narrow down to your vote. I'm warning you. So don't break the law thinking you won't be found out. Also, let's avoid taking, receiving, giving out food and drinks to electoral officers, to people in a queue. Now, who sent you? Why not somehow? Why the rest of the year or the years, why don't you go distributing food and drink? Is it on this day that you are going to do that? The laws on voting talk about that as well. We know what is right and what is wrong. You see, we want peace. That's why I'm in white. But the peace will not just happen, just like development also doesn't just happen. You must do certain things to get peace, and you must do certain things to get development. So let's do the right thing. Because people like you and me, if we go out there and do the wrong thing, that's where trouble starts. It's maybe one person doing it, people in the crowd who will necessarily be from different camps, who support different parties, latch on to it, and that is how a spark happens. You could be the change. I could be the change. All of us could be the change. And then a few days from now, we'll have a leader and be at peace, God willing. And that's why I'm so happy about the Catholic Church's message out there, in the conversations in the cathedral and others. Peace is the message. Other Christian churches, the Pentecostal Council and others, have said peace is the message. The Chief Imam's office has also said, even calling on the imams at today's Juma prayers, peace is the message. You remember that song? Love is the message and the message is love. We can also fit peace in there. Peace and love. Let's do that for Mother Ghana. Rather than inflaming passions, look, if some silly leader goes trying to foment trouble, don't follow. Because asamba. Let's love Ghana. Let's vote, decide where we want to go, and let's choose peace. My name is Benjamin Akakbo. I stand for peace. Thank you for watching.